Hi, this is Lon Welsh at Your Castle Real Estate, and I bet you're wondering what impact the presidential election is going to have on the real estate market. It seems like I get asked this at least once an hour, so maybe you're being asked that quite frequently as well. Turns out there's a big research company, BTIG, that did a study from 1963 to current, and they took a look at every single presidential election and tried to figure out what impact those elections had. And what you find is that in the 6 weeks that run up to the election, the number of homes that get sold normally would drop about 10%, and that's the normal seasonality. But for an election year, the drop is about a 15% drop. And that's looking at, say, August, which is a relatively busy month, to November, which historically is a very slow month. So it's about an extra 5% decline in the number of units that are sold during a presidential election cycle. And I think that's partially because of all of the negative ads that drive down consumer confidence. All you hear in the media nonstop is that the world's going to come to an end unless you vote for me. And if you hear it enough times, eventually you start to believe and think, well, gosh, I don't want to buy a house. But it tends to wear off pretty quickly. About 6 weeks or so after the election, there's an increase in the number of sales during the presidential cycles that makes up for the lost sales. So over, like, say, a 4 or 5 month period, the number of sales is exactly what you'd predict. It's just a little bit of a bias. I'm also asked often, does it matter if it's a Republican or a Democrat? Historically speaking, there's really no change to the number of sales or the typical pricing. So really, I think the way you could play this is if you're a buyer and you're frustrated, especially if you're a first-time buyer or a first trade-up buyer, we're only running with like 11 or 12 days of inventory right now. That inventory will build a little bit immediately before the election, like 6 weeks before, and there'll be a little bit more to choose from, and it'll be a little bit easier for you to purchase. Also, it's expected, historically speaking, that rates will go up about a half a point after the election. That's usually what happens. Might be a great buying opportunity for first-time buyers to get out there and finally get the house they've been looking for.